Hello there. My name is Jesse. I had heard that this site is where people would submit their stories that were, well, creepy. I've read a lot here, mostly the stories that you would read about monsters, supernatural things, serial killers, and even haunted items. I've heard that most of these stories are actually true, but I never did believe it. I didn't think stuff like that existed. Well, except for the serial killer part. My point is, I always thought these things were hoaxes and just that. That is, until the Mirror Man. You see, I go to high school in suburban Massachusetts. It's really what you would expect a normal high school to be. Regular classes, everyone has their own group of friends. You know, the usual stuff. No, the school isn't haunted. No, it wasn't built on a Native American burial ground. Nothing like that. It's a completely normal school. But lately, I'd say about 2, maybe 3 weeks ago, a rumor had started floating around school. But it wasn't the usual rumor of who's cheating on who or who's pregnant. No, this was more of those urban myth rumors you would hear about. The guy who started this rumor, let's just call him Tim. You see, Tim was a well-known guy. He was that one guy in school everyone liked, and one day, he came in with an almost triumphant smirk on his face, as if he was parading around. One of my friends, Dan, had went up to him and asked what he was so happy about. Tim responded, saying, "I beat the Mirror Man," as if it was some sort of achievement. Dan asked, "Who's the Mirror Man?" Because I don't want to keep doing this who said what thing, I myself will tell you who the Mirror Man is. The Mirror Man is the quote-unquote spirit who will appear if you say the words Mirror Man into a mirror 3 times when you're alone. Now, I know what you're thinking. Another one of those bogus mirror tricks, right? We all tried the Bloody Mary thing when we were kids. We all found out it was nonsense, and that no ghost would pop up, ultimately leaving us disappointed but relieved at the same time that nothing was going to come out of the mirror and kill you. And at first, I thought the same thing about this. Tim must be pulling a prank or something, right? Our whole lunch table gave him our skeptic responses, to which he replied, "If you don't believe me, then why don't you try it for yourself?" A few of us nodded and just said, "Okay," and then we went back to eating our lunches. The rest of the day was pretty normal after that. I went home, did my homework, and that was it. My mom and dad were away for the week on a business trip, so I was home alone. I didn't mind though, because at least I still had my dog to keep me company. Time went by, and eventually, it was nighttime. I had just finished brushing my teeth in front of the mirror when that thought of the rumor came up in my head again. I figured I would do it, if only to prove that it was really nothing. I turned off the lights and stood in front of the mirror. I took a deep breath and said the words, "Mirror Man, Mirror Man, Mirror Man." I waited for what seemed like a good minute in the dark. Nothing happened. I knew it was fake from the start. I smiled to myself and went to bed, waiting to rub it into Tim's face. The morning came along with school that day. The first half went pretty normally. Then it came to lunch. We were all there talking about what we usually do, when in came Tim, only something was different. The usual aloof look on his face had faded into an expression of worry and deep thought. He was never like this before. He sat down slowly, and we had all asked him what was wrong. He was silent for a moment before saying, "I saw him again." We asked who it was that he saw, eager to find out what was doing this to our friend. He gave only a shaky reply, "The Mirror Man." I rolled my eyes at this. I thought he was pulling some stunt to get attention. "The Mirror Man isn't real. I tried it last night," I said. Tim turned to me and shouted at me, "He is real, and I saw him again last night. He's coming for me. He said he would." This had caught the attention of the other tables in the area, as well as the teachers. The entire cafeteria went silent as he shouted, "He's coming for me!" One of the better-known teachers had grabbed him by the shoulders and escorted him out of the cafeteria. What the hell was going on here? Fast forward a few days later, the rumor of the Mirror Man had spread throughout the school, onto the internet, and to everywhere locally. It had become a craze by the time my parents had gotten home from their trip. I had told them everything. I had still continued to do the Mirror Man trick every night, but no matter what, I would never see the supposed spirit. However, many other people in the school had apparently seen him, even if they didn't do the mirror trick. They would just be staring at their reflection, fixing their hair, etc., and then, out of nowhere, the reflection would just distort into the mirror man. But why wouldn't he show up for me? I didn't understand it, and it frustrated me. Upon the morning of last Monday, the entire school had been called into the auditorium. This would never happen unless something really good or really bad would happen, and with the recent news, I sure as hell knew it wasn't the former. The principal of the school had stepped out with a grave look on his face. He had walked up to the podium, and Tim had died. The police had found his body in his room after they had broken down the door. I couldn't believe my ears. Was this really happening? No, it couldn't be. How had he died? Had he really killed himself over this whole Mirror Man thing, or was something else going on here? Later that night, I had signed onto the school's website. The school had a chat system implemented where students could contact other students about when papers were due, help on projects, and things like that. I was chatting with my friends and other kids about the day's events. Then suddenly, a message popped up. Guest-mirror_man has logged into the chat room. I looked at the message for a few seconds. Was this some kind of joke? Because nobody was laughing. He said nothing when all the other students called him out. All he did was post a link to a picture in the chat. The moderator banned him immediately afterwards. I clicked on the link apart from my better judgment, and I wish I hadn't. What I saw in that picture will be sure to haunt me for the rest of my life. It was Tim, but it was his corpse, pale and lifeless. His jaw was hanging open as if he was screaming. There were dozens of shards of glass dug into his skin, including 2 larger ones that were stuck into his eyes. There was blood everywhere, and carved into his chest were 2 parallel lines, lined up vertically with an X slightly overlapping them. I was appalled, and I began to cry. He was a kid, for God's sake. Who did this to him? Why did they do this to him? Instinctively, the first thing I thought was, the Mirror Man. Was he really real? Did he really do this to Tim? All these questions buzzed in my head. I started feeling nauseous. I ripped the cord out of my computer, making the screen go black. And I just cried there. Over the next few days, things only got worse. More kids were missing. More ended up dead. And each time it was done, a picture of their body ended up on the school's website under the screen name mirror_man. Eventually, I just stopped clicking. I knew what the picture was, and everyone else did too. The school was shut down by the police soon after that. The FBI started questioning people, but the one thing that I kept asking myself the entire time was, why couldn't I see the Mirror Man? I shouldn't even be asking this. I should just consider it a blessing and leave it alone, but I wanted to know why. One final time, I went into my bathroom. One final time, I turned the lights off and looked in the mirror. And one final time, I had said, Mirror Man, Mirror Man, Mirror Man. My voice grew shaky and unstable each time I said it. My mind was about to snap, but I needed to know. And finally, I saw him. My reflection started to distort. It was replaced by a man. He was wearing a pair of jeans and an olive green hooded sweatshirt, but his clothes were blood-stained. There were shards of glass sticking into him and impaling him like a pincushion. His mouth was sewn shut, and I couldn't see the rest of his face, but in his hand, there was a bloody shard of mirror. I was petrified. How does one react to a serial killer staring him down? I didn't think this could be real. It had to be one big messed up dream or a hallucination or something. I took a step back from the mirror. My heart thumping in my ears was all I could hear, when surprisingly, he also took a step away. Being cautious, I took another step away, and so did he. Where I moved, he moved, in perfect sync, as if I was looking in a mirror. I closed my eyes and shook my head, and there I was again. Well, There was my face, but my clothes changed. I was wearing an olive green sweatshirt and jeans, and there was a piece of bloodied mirror in my hand. I looked down and it was all true. There I was, wearing the exact same thing that the mirror man had worn just a moment ago. No, this had to be another trick, I thought. The mirror man was messing with my head. Then, I saw a blood trail leading out the bathroom door. I reluctantly followed it, and it led to the door of my parents' bedroom. I kept whispering in a hushed tone as if I were pleading, "No, no," over and over again. I had slowly opened the door, and there were both my parents, broken shards of glass going through them, 2 through the eyes, and the 2 lines, with the X on their bodies. I know the reason why I couldn't see him. It's because I could always see him. I was the mirror man. I had done all those horrible things. It was me. What's up, everybody? This is the Lone Wolf here. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed my narration of Mirror Man. If you did, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing, especially if you're new to my channel. Turn on the bell for notifications and join the Lone Wolf Pack. If any of you guys have a personal story or recommendation for me, or you just want to talk, there will be a link to my email, Twitter, Discord server, and Instagram in the description. There will also be links in the description for all of the music artists that I used in this video, along with each individual track that I used for those of you interested in the music. And last but certainly not least, if any of you guys have any ideas or tips for me to make my videos even better, please leave me a comment or send me a direct message. Until next time, stay spooky. And remember, the hunt begins when the moon is full. Sleep tight.